Hi everybody. So this is going to be like an ask me anything question. So you guys will be the one asking him. I am just sitting down here for fancy. One of the reasons why I'm excited about this um, session is because there's a tweet I saw one time where he said he worked at Money Point for 10 years. And I asked myself, why would anybody want to stay in a company for 10 years? Even 4, 5, I'm like, sorry, I want to leave. So 10 years is like a lot. I mean, Julian has given us like a whole nerdy bio about himself. So I'm going to allow him give us the real bio about himself. Hi, Julian.
Yeah, hi. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear him?
Hello?
Mike.
Hello, hi. Is
Okay.
this working? Can you hear me? All right. Yeah. Okay, so where do I start? Where do I start? So I'm a software engineer and researcher at the moment, but I've been introduced to tech for a very long time. I started technology around the age of 14. I was introduced to programming. And MoneyPoint as a company wasn't MoneyPoint when it started. It was called Team Apt. And we started around 2015. At the time when the company was starting, they were trying to get people who were not so expensive, but who were also very technically sound and were able to do the work and could also believe in the mission. And so at the time I think I was in my final year in Unilag, University of Lagos, where someone who already knew that at the time I was pretty much into software and writing systems. And so they recommended me to the CEO. I went to his apartment in 1004. We had conversation, and then I pretty much started the role. And to be honest, at the time we started 2015, we weren't building consumer facing products like we have today. Right now, we have they have banking solutions for businesses and also for personal people and for retail. But at the time we started, we are building software for banks. So we were mostly like bank vendors and we're doing a lot of automation for banking systems. That's where we built a lot of our early experience that allowed us to eventually build MoneyPoint. I think if we didn't have a lot of the experience we built over the years working with banks, automating their internal systems, we wouldn't have been able to build MoneyPoint. So, um, regarding my career, I've pretty much dabbled in a lot of things, mostly software engineering, but I've also done engineering management. I've done product management. Um, I've led teams to execute systems that have scaled massively and have served millions of people. I've done products in payments, in loans. I did virtual accounts at one point. And so I just kind of moved around over the period of time for 10 years. So when people ask me how I was able to stay for 10 years, how could I stay at a company for 10 years? Really, it's a combination of many things. For starters, I wasn't just doing one thing for 10 years. I was doing different things for 10 years over that period. And also, one thing that allowed me to stay was that I had a very strong belief in the founding team at MoneyPoint, the engineers, a lot of people that joined the company early, very smart people, very dedicated. The founder himself is also very competent. Someone that I looked up to a lot in the early days and someone I believed could execute the mission. So I believed that if I stayed at the company, things were going to come smoothly. I also had the right, should I say the right encouragement or incentive? Because those of us who joined early were given shares in the company. I think if you have very good equity in a company, you can't just walk away because it's a lot of money. So there was that too. And yeah, so it's just a combination of all those things. So I wouldn't say that everybody must stay at a company for 10 years. because it's not advice that works for everybody. I think we all have different contexts around our lives. For some people, it makes sense. For some people, I think you're better off finding a job where you are well suited, you're around people that can inspire you, you're solving problems that are relevant to you, you're applying yourself, you're also growing in the direction that you would want, and you're well compensated financially. So yeah, I think I talked a bit. I hope I didn't ramble too much. Oh yeah.
Can we give him a round of applause, please? I mean, like that is quite amazing. I think my next question is going to be on impacts. You've said you've stayed a decade, and can we actually give him like a decade is a lot. So, in your aspects in working in Money Points and your career and all that, how would you say, like, what would you say impact is for you?
What impact is for me? I mean, if you're working on something, could be a problem or a product, but if you're building something that has impact, I think it translates to the people who get to use your product and the kind of stories that they tell about it. I mean, so for much of the time, I was an engineer. So engineers typically spend a lot of time in the lab. You're writing code, you're dealing with bugs, you're dealing with systems. So you're not always directly customer facing. You're just building a lot in-house. But it's very easy as an engineer to get disconnected from the impact of your work because you're too focused on software, you're too focused on code. And really, for me, what happened, there was a time, I think, around the time we were deploying solutions at First Bank. I had a project with First Bank at the time. This was around 2017. And we had just built a system to automate their POS monitoring solution, basically how they manage the entire, all their POSs across the entire country. And we had built dashboards for them, automated their reconciliation, settlements, transaction monitoring. And, that period, I was just writing code. Like I was 20, almost 24/7, I was writing code because I was the only one on the project. MoneyPoint was a very small company at the time. We were very short staffed, but I was the only one on the project. And when we eventually delivered the solution and I transitioned to a more like customer supporting type role, because after writing the software, I also had to support it with the staff, hang with the staff, help get them to use it. And I could see the numbers they were doing. I could watch their transactions. I could see that, the top bank personnel, the executives and stuff, they were using the software to understand their business, to get insights and reports. It felt like impact for me because I know I'd spent a lot of sleepless nights working on that project and seeing people use it, seeing people appreciate it, seeing it make their life easier, their work easier. I think that's what impact feels like. There was also virtual accounts, which went live roughly 2019, where the first, MoneyPoint was the first bank to pioneer virtual accounts. That's where you want to make a payment and an account number is generated for that transaction. So I and the CEO, that's Tosin, we architected the flow of the system, how it will work, how the elements will play together to move requests, service the requests, and all that. And it was a system that we built in collaboration with Providus Bank at the time. Providus was the first bank that allowed us to pioneer the solution. And we had to work with their IT staff. When it went live, Providus was, they threw their weight behind the project. And when it went live, people could pay with Providus accounts. There was a lot of buzz around it. It was really viral. Everybody wanted virtual accounts because it made payments easy. You didn't have to use a card to make payments. You could just generate an account number, transfer it, get instant notification. So that also felt like impact as well. And so I had those pockets of time where I just worked on projects, people got to use them. I think it's when your customers use them, use your products, and the kind of stories that they tell about the product. And I always say that the way you tell a great product is by what the people say about it. Your customers become your chief evangelists. That's how you know a product is really good. When the customers are the chief evangelists. In fact, the product will start to sell itself and start to scale. So yeah.
Thank you so much. So before I go on, we're gonna take a few questions from the audience. Okay. Wow. Okay.
So I have a question. How do you, since you worked with the founder of Money Points now, for example, and you say you're a competent person, if you were to flip the sides around and you are an owner of a startup now, and you want to like hold someone who has experience with something like now a graphics designer, but he's not particularly having the best of character. How do you, as an owner,
I think
what
that
would you?
character is important because if someone is an asshole but they are competent, you wouldn't even want to work. You still wouldn't want to work with them. So that character is important. Like it's good to be competent. It's good to know your stuff, but you should be pleasurable to work with. You should be someone who is good to work with, right? I think you know what I mean by that. Yeah, just someone who is nice to work with. They take corrections, they listen, but they also like um they're friendly, they're open, they're collaborative, basically. Yeah, so I think that's it. So like regarding your question, if I'm a founder, for example, I'm trying to bring people on board, you know, you want to be straight up honest with them on what you can offer them, and you also want to get a feel of how well they see the vision and how well they are willing um to take ownership. Because if you're founding a company, you want as many people who can come in and take initiative, right? People who can take ownership, people who you wouldn't have to be on their neck all the time to do stuff, right? Because as the business grows, you'll be dragged in several directions. You won't be able to do everything yourself. So you want people you can delegate to. And so if I was going to hire a graphics designer early on, I want to make sure it's someone who can grow to handle that part of things, and I wouldn't have to be on be on them all the time.
Second question is how exactly did and you guys at Money Points test your services early on? Because I suppose since it's finance, there has to be like some limits to how much you can explore and how much you can take risk early on.
Yeah, so I mean I will say this, right, that we were figuring things out. Yeah, so it's not like from the onset or when we started out, we were perfect. I think there are a lot of mistakes that we made, but we learn from our mistakes. So I think the nature of the software process is quite iterative. So you test out your ideas, you build. Some things might work, some things might not work. But because of the nature of fintech, right? You know, it's quite delicate, and quality is sublime, right? It's very important. You want to make sure that you can develop the process or the processes that can make sure that what you are building is well tested. Sorry, I think you can say that. You don't understand. Yeah, you don't have to like you have processes that can really test the quality of the output, because engineers can write code, they can say they've tested, but you can't always envision all the edge scenarios and all the things that can go wrong. So at some point we had quality assurance engineers, and I used to push for this, that if we're hiring QA in-house, we want people who are also deeply technical. So even when I was hiring, if I wanted to interview people who are QA engineers, I would give preference to a QA engineer who has coding experience, because the best person that can test code is someone who has written code, someone who understands code, someone who knows how code can fail. So that goes a long way. And then just making sure that you stick with the process, right? So how do you do code reviews? Code reviews are important. You need to make sure that if somebody writes code, there's a process for other people to review it before it's merged. And when it's merged, you have like your automated tests that can run to ensure there's proper coverage, there's proper regression. If anything fails, you can quickly fix it, merge it back, and just make sure that even when you're deploying your software, you have like you're not just rolling it out You can test it, maybe roll it out to a section of users, maybe canary deployment or whatever you want to do. And so all of these, we learned them over time. We learned these things over time. It wasn't perfect from the onset, but we learned some of these things, and eventually we were able to grow into a system that could serve a lot of people. Because really, you need quality if you're going to serve people at scale. Thank you. I want to answer more questions now. Can we take a few more? It seems there are people who really want to ask.
The timer already said our time is up,
Oh, it's up.
and yeah.
Okay.
So he's going to be outside, and you can ask him all the questions you want. Yeah. Don't worry, he's going to come back for a pre-DevFest. If you're nice to me, we're going to do another session, pre-DevFest. But anyways, it's been a lovely session.
Thank you.
you for coming for DevFest Lagos. It is his first DevFest. So yeah, it is his first DevFest. So thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
guys enjoyed the session, right? Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you too.